Welcome to Happy's Kitchen. It's officially fall, which means it's the perfect time to make a bunch of kimchi for our winter. So I have here about 8 pounds of cabbage, and yes, we're going to make all of it. If you're making this at home, you don't need to make it in this quantity. The first thing that we need to do is cut the cabbage. So I'm going to make an easy version of kimchi, which means I'm going to be using pieces of cabbage instead of the whole cabbage. So once you cut the bottom, you can actually rip the top half off. So I'm going to remove this part of the cabbage, which is really hard. You want to take this out? Then we're going to quarter it. And because my cabbage is so large, I'm actually going to cut it again, like so. The idea is you want to get bite-sized pieces, like this big. We're going to put all of our cabbage into a big bowl, and we're first going to wash it so that we get rid of all the sand or dirty things that could be in the cabbage. Okay, now that we've cleaned and rinsed our cabbage, we're going to salt it. The salt does two things. It flavors it and also wilts our cabbage so that it can absorb more of the delicious flavors we'll add a little bit later. So I'm simply going to put our cabbage in a big bowl. Add some salt. So I'm using kosher salt here. The total amount of salt I'm using is about 3% of the weight of my cabbage. I have about 8 pounds of cabbage, so here I'm using about 110 grams of salt. While our cabbage is being salted, which will take about an hour to 2 hours, another thing to note is you should turn your cabbage every once in a while to make sure the salt is even. So while the cabbage is salting, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to make a sweet rice porridge, which will be the base of the paste we're using to ferment our cabbage. So here I just have some water that's currently on heat. This is about 2.5 cups of water, and I'm adding to it 50 grams of sweet glutinous rice flour. So as you add the rice flour, make sure to stir so there won't be any lumps. If you have a whisk at home, this is a good time to bring that out. You want to turn your stove to simmer. I'm also going to add about 50 grams of sugar. The sugar is not going to make the kimchi sweet, but it's going to add a depth of flavor to our paste. So our sweet rice porridge now has been cooking for about 2 minutes, and it's quite thickened and translucent. So now this is ready. We're going to let it cool before we use it to make our kimchi paste. While our napa cabbage is wilting, coated in salt, we're going to make our kimchi paste. So this is the sweet rice porridge that we made earlier. Now it's completely cooled. To that, we're going to add 100 grams of Korean pepper flakes. It's super important to use the Korean pepper flakes because they are bright red in color, but they're not that spicy. Don't substitute for Chinese pepper flakes or Latino pepper flakes. We also have here about half a bunch of scallions, so about 4 stalks of scallion. We have 3 tablespoons of minced ginger, 1 medium apple chopped, 2 heads of garlic chopped, and half a cup of onions. We also have 2 cups of shredded daikon and 1.5 cups of carrots. So this is all going to go into our kimchi paste. So give that a stir, and immediately it's going to become this bright red color. The ginger, apples, garlic, scallions, and onions. Now our kimchi paste is well mixed. You can see everything is a bright fiery red, but don't worry, it's not as spicy as it looks. You can also adjust the spice level by using a little bit more or less of the red pepper flake to your taste. So the rice porridge that we're using in here not only is a carrier to let all the flavors melt, but the sweet rice flour will also ferment, which gives the kimchi its unique taste and also a level of depth. Now we're going to add in our julienne carrots and our julienne daikon. We're going to mix it all together. Now our kimchi paste is done. So here we've omitted the traditional additions of fish sauce as well as dried shrimp and or squid since we're making a vegetarian version. But if you like the fishiness in your kimchi, feel free to add that in and or a tablespoon of soy sauce for a little bit more flavor. So now it's been about 2 hours and our cabbage is ready to be marinated. You can see that it's lost quite about a quarter of its weight in water and it's no longer as crispy. It's perfectly wilted. And what used to take 3 large containers, we now can handle only 1, which is great because now what we're going to do is we're going to add a cabbage to our big mixing bowl here. I'm going to add in some of our paste and mix it all together. So because my bowl here is not that big, I prefer to mix it in small batches to make sure that everything is evenly coated, just like so. Now that everything is evenly coated, we can add a bit more cabbage and a bit more paste. So now our kimchi is all mixed with our kimchi paste and it's ready to be stored in a food-safe container to be left to ferment. So the best containers to use would be glass. Don't use metal. Here I have plastic, which is also okay. I think I also forgot to mention that as you're letting your cabbage wilt and you're turning it over every 30 minutes or so to let it salt evenly, afterwards you want to rinse the cabbage free of the salt. So rinse it in water and then drain it before you mix it with the kimchi paste. When you're mixing the kimchi, it's okay to use your hands, but if you do that, I would recommend you use food-safe gloves. Otherwise, the hot chili paste will irritate your skin. So all that 1 pound of cabbage yields 1.5 quarts of finished kimchi, mainly because so much water came out of our cabbage. Many options for the fermentation of your kimchi. If you want to eat it sooner, just leave it in your kitchen or leave it in a shady area that's not too warm and let it ferment for about 3 to 5 days and it'll be ready to eat. If you're not going to eat it fairly quickly, then you can put it in the fridge. It'll take probably about 2 weeks for the fermentation to complete in the fridge. So I've kept my kimchi in the fridge for about 2 weeks. If you don't want to wait that long, you can also keep it out at room temperature for about 3 days, let it ferment, and it'll also be ready. Another neat trick you can do is just keep your kimchi in the fridge until a day or 2 before you want to have it. You take it out in a little container, you let it ferment at room temperature. Let's take a look. So, very tightly packed, smells delicious, and our cabbage has absorbed all of that delicious rice paste and the juices. So, let's give this a taste. So not only can you enjoy kimchi right out of the container with rice or porridge, you can also make a lot of other delicious foods with kimchi. So join me next time as we make a kimchi pancake. We can also do kimchi fried rice and kimchi stew. So if you don't want to miss all the other upcoming episodes on how to use your kimchi, please remember to subscribe and also comment below on what else you would like to see. Thanks for watching and happy cooking!